Have you ever felt that maintaining friendships is more of a burden than a joy? As we get older, our priorities and values start to shift. It's like, suddenly, the things that seemed so important before just don't hold the same weight. Think about it. Do we really need a large social circle after 70? Maybe not. In this video, we're going to explore why reducing friendships at this stage in life can actually lead to greater independence and happiness. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but aren't friends supposed to make us happier? Well, the thing is, sometimes embracing solitude can enhance your personal growth and contentment in ways you might not expect. It's like finding a new kind of freedom, where you can focus on what truly matters to you without the noise of maintaining too many relationships. By watching this, you'll discover how this shift can open up new avenues for personal discovery and joy. It's not about cutting ties, it's about choosing the connections that truly enrich your life. So if you find this topic intriguing, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's dive into this journey together and see how embracing independence can lead to a happier, more fulfilling life. One of the great things about getting older is that you really don't have to prove yourself to anyone anymore. Think about it. You've spent decades building your life, your career, your family. Your legacy is already established. Take Harold, for example. After retiring from a high-pressure job, he found peace in solitude. No more meetings, no more deadlines, just him and his thoughts. And you know what? He's happier for it. Margaret, on the other hand, used to be the life of the party. But now she finds more joy in her own company than in attending social gatherings. She told me once, "I just don't feel the need to impress anyone anymore." And isn't that a wonderful place to be? When your self-worth is internally driven, you're free from the constant chase for external validation. But of course, there's a flip side. Some folks might feel isolated without that social validation. It's a real challenge, and it's okay to acknowledge that. But here's the thing. Focusing on self-acceptance and personal achievements can be incredibly liberating. It's about recognizing that your worth isn't tied to what others think of you. William realized this too. He spent years trying to impress others, only to find that he didn't need to. He told me, "I finally understand that I'm enough just as I am." And that's a powerful realization, isn't it? With age, the need for external approval diminishes. We become more self-aware, more in tune with who we really are. So I want you to think about a moment when you felt free from the need to prove yourself. Maybe it was a small thing, like choosing to stay home and read a book instead of going out. Or maybe it was something bigger. Whatever it was, hold on to that feeling. It's a reminder that you've earned the right to live life on your own terms. And isn't that what true independence is all about? You've built your legacy, and now it's time to enjoy it. As we get older, something interesting happens. Peace and quiet start to feel more valuable than all that socializing we used to do. Think about it. Have you ever just sat in your garden like Richard does and felt that deep sense of joy? He finds happiness in tending to his plants, just him and the earth. It's like a little sanctuary, away from the hustle and bustle. And then there's Eleanor. She used to love going to parties, but now she finds more pleasure in curling up with a good book. It's not that she doesn't enjoy company, but there's something about getting lost in a story that feels so fulfilling. It's like traveling to another world without leaving your chair. James, on the other hand, loves his peaceful walks in nature. He says it's like a moving meditation, where he can just be with his thoughts and the sounds of the birds. It's calming, And it makes you wonder, why do we crave these quiet moments more as we age? Well, the thing is, solitude gives us time for reflection. We get to think about our lives, our choices, and maybe even dream a little. Plus, quiet environments can really help reduce stress. It's like a balm for the soul, especially when the world feels a bit too loud. Of course, there's a balance to strike. Too much solitude can lead to loneliness, and that's something we want to avoid. But here's a thought. Why not engage in solitary hobbies that bring you joy? Whether it's painting, knitting, or even birdwatching, these activities can be incredibly rewarding. I remember my own grandmother telling me how she cherished her time alone in the kitchen, baking. It was her way of finding peace. So, what about you? What peaceful activity do you cherish the most? It's worth thinking about because as we age, the value of peace and quiet often outweighs the desire for constant social interaction. And that's perfectly okay. True companionship comes from within. I know it might sound a bit cliché, but hear me out. As we get older, self-awareness and self-acceptance can actually become more fulfilling than external relationships. You know Harold, a friend of mine, meditates daily. He says it helps him connect with himself on a deeper level. And then there's Margaret, who writes in her journal every day. She explores her thoughts and feelings, and she finds it incredibly rewarding. William, another friend, practices mindfulness. He says it enhances his self-awareness and brings him peace. The thing is, when you find that inner peace, it leads to happiness. It's like having a best friend who's always there for you, yourself. And self-companionship? It's empowering. You start to realize that you don't need to rely on others for your happiness. But of course, there's a risk. You might become too isolated. It's a fine line, right? So how do we balance this? Well, it's about finding that sweet spot between enjoying your own company and having occasional meaningful interactions with others. Maybe it's a phone call with a family member or a coffee with a neighbor. Just enough to keep you connected without feeling overwhelmed. I remember a time when I felt truly content with my own company. I was sitting in my garden just listening to the birds and feeling the sun on my face. It was a simple moment, but it was perfect. Have you ever had a moment like that? Where everything just felt right, and you were completely at peace with yourself? Finding companionship within ourselves can lead to a deeper sense of fulfillment and happiness. It's like discovering a hidden treasure that was there all along. So, I encourage you to reflect on a time when you felt truly content with your own company. What was it about that moment that made it special? And how can you create more moments like that in your life? You know, there's something truly magical about solitude. It's like when you're alone, you get to really meet yourself. I mean, think about it. How often do we get to just sit with our thoughts and explore who we are without any distractions? My friend once said, "Solitude is where I find my peace." And that really stuck with me. It's like a quiet room where you can hear your own heartbeat, your own dreams. And honestly, who says we need to follow society's rules about always being surrounded by people? So I'm curious, how has solitude contributed to your personal growth? Have you found new passions or rediscovered old ones? So, we've talked about how cutting back on friendships can actually lead to more independence, peace, and self-fulfillment. And you know, it's not about pushing people away, but more about embracing the freedom that comes with age. I mean, think about it. How often do we get caught up in what society expects from us? But at this stage in life, you can really let go of those expectations and find joy in your own company. I remember my neighbor, Ed, who used to say, "I finally have time to do what I want when I want." And he was right. There's something liberating about not having to check in with anyone else. You can spend your days doing what truly makes you happy, whether it's gardening, reading, or just enjoying a quiet cup of tea. And hey, if you find yourself missing a bit of social interaction, that's okay too. It's all about balance, right? But the thing is, you have the choice now. You can decide how much or how little you want to engage with others. So, if you found this helpful, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences with solitude. Share them below. Let's keep this conversation going. Remember, it's your life, your rules. Embrace it and live happier.